There is a mistake most people make when they think about wealth. They assume rich people must know some secret formula, some hidden shortcut, some special trick that ordinary people never get access to. But in reality, the gap usually starts somewhere much quieter than that. It starts with habits that look small, ordinary, and almost too simple to matter. That is why two people can begin in a similar place with similar potential, with similar goals and even similar opportunities, and still end up living completely different lives. One stays stuck, constantly restarting, constantly doubting, constantly wondering why progress never seems to last. The other slowly builds momentum, discipline, better judgment, stronger habits, and eventually wealth. Not because they got lucky overnight, not because they look successful, and not because they were born with some magical advantage, but because they repeated a different set of behaviors long enough for those behaviors to change their entire future. That is what most people underestimate. Wealth is usually built long before it becomes visible, long before the freedom, the lifestyle, the investments, or the financial security. It is built in private, in how someone thinks when nobody is watching, in how they use an ordinary day, in what they do when they are tired, distracted, frustrated, tempted, or bored. And the truth is, some of the habits that create real wealth do not look impressive at all in the moment. They can even look boring. But over time, they create a gap so large that it changes everything. In this video, we are going to break down 7 millionaire habits that 95% of people ignore, misunderstand, or fail to repeat long enough. Because once you understand these habits, you start to understand why some people quietly move ahead, while everyone else keeps circling the same problems. Let's start with the first one. Habit number 1. Millionaires think in decades, not in days. Most people are trapped in short-term thinking. They want fast proof, fast results, fast excitement, and fast relief. And when they do not get immediate results, they start doubting the process. That is one of the biggest reasons so many people stay average. Average thinking is obsessed with the next few days. Wealthy thinking is obsessed with the next few years. When someone thinks in days, they chase emotion. When someone thinks in decades, they build systems. And that changes everything. Because if you only think short term, you make decisions that feel good now, but damage you later. You spend to impress, you delay learning, you avoid discomfort, you jump from one plan to another, you confuse movement with progress. But when you think long term, your behavior becomes more intentional. You stop asking, how can I get rich quickly? And you start asking, what kind of person do I need to become if I want wealth to still be growing 10 years from now? That is a much more powerful question, because real wealth is not just about making money. It is about becoming the kind of person who can keep, grow, and direct money wisely over time. Millionaires often make decisions that look slow to other people. They are willing to learn longer, build longer, wait longer, stay disciplined longer, because they understand something most people do not. Small, smart decisions, repeated for years, eventually become an unfair advantage. And once you understand that, the second habit becomes even more important. Habit number 2, they protect their attention like it is an asset. Most people protect their money more than they protect their focus. That is a huge mistake, because attention is often what creates money in the first place. If your attention is constantly broken, scattered, and hijacked, your decisions become weaker, your work becomes weaker, your patience becomes weaker, your standards become weaker, and over time, your life reflects that. We live in a world where distraction is normal. Constant notifications, constant entertainment, constant comparison, constant noise. Most people are mentally exhausted not because life is impossible, but because their focus is under attack all day long. Millionaire habits often begin with one simple principle. Do not give your best mental energy away too cheaply. That means becoming selective. Selective about what you consume, selective about who you listen to, selective about where your time goes, selective about what deserves your emotional reaction. Because deep work, clear thinking, smart planning, and disciplined action all require attention. And attention is not unlimited. If you waste it early, you will not have much left for the decisions that actually matter. That is why highly successful people often look less reactive. Less available, less impulsive. They are not necessarily cold. They are guarded. They understand that every distraction has a cost, and that cost is not just time. It is quality. Quality of thought, quality of action, quality of life. Most people never build anything meaningful because they cannot stay focused long enough to build it, which leads directly to the third habit. Habit number 3, they master delayed gratification. This is one of the least glamorous habits on this list, but it may be one of the most important. Delayed gratification is the ability to resist what feels good now in order to create something better later. It sounds simple, but it separates people more than almost anything else. Because life constantly offers small comforts that quietly steal bigger outcomes. Buy now, relax now, quit now, upgrade now, celebrate too early, escape too early. And most people do not fail financially because they are incapable. They fail because they keep trading long-term freedom for short-term pleasure. Millionaire habits move differently. They are willing to be underestimated for a while. They are willing to look less successful than they plan to become. They are willing to reinvest when others are consuming. They are willing to stay disciplined when others are rewarding themselves too soon. That takes emotional strength, because delayed gratification is not just financial, it is psychological. It means you stop needing immediate proof. You stop needing constant validation. You stop needing every step of the process to feel exciting. And once that happens, your consistency becomes much stronger. That is when real compounding begins, not just with money, but with skill, confidence, reputation, and momentum. And that leads to a habit most people completely overlook. Habit number 4, they build identity before income. Most people say they want results, but their identity does not support those results. They want the income of a disciplined person without the habits of a disciplined person. They want the confidence of a skilled person without the repetition that creates skill. They want the outcome without becoming the kind of person who can produce it consistently. That never lasts. Millionaires do not just chase money. At some point, they begin to shape themselves. They become more reliable, more focused, more patient, more emotionally controlled, more strategic, more consistent. That matters because income can rise faster than identity for a while. But eventually, weak identity creates weak decisions, and weak decisions destroy momentum. If your habits are unstable, your results will be unstable. If your standards are low, your financial life will eventually reflect that. This is why identity is such a powerful hidden factor. The moment you stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined," and start acting like someone who is disciplined no matter how they feel, your life begins to change. The moment you stop saying, "I want to be successful," and start making choices that successful people make even when nobody rewards you for them, your trajectory changes. Identity is the engine behind repetition, and repetition is what turns ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes. Which brings us to the 5th habit. Habit number 5. They choose environments that make success easier. A lot of people rely too much on motivation. Millionaires rely more on design. They understand that environment shapes behavior. If you are surrounded by distraction, negativity, low standards, chaos, and wasteful habits, it becomes much harder to stay sharp. Even strong people are influenced by what surrounds them. That is why successful people become intentional about their environment, their routines, their workspace, their inputs, their friendships, their daily exposure, their expectations. They know that discipline is easier when the environment supports it. And self-sabotage becomes more likely when the environment pulls in the wrong direction. This also applies to money. If you are surrounded by people who normalize impulsive spending, financial avoidance, status addiction, and short-term thinking, that pressure affects you whether you admit it or not. But if you place yourself around people, systems, and routines that reinforce growth, discipline becomes more natural. This is not about becoming arrogant, it is about becoming aware. Your environment can either reduce friction or increase it. And wealthy people learn to remove unnecessary friction from the habits that matter. They make good behavior easier, bad behavior harder. That sounds simple, but it is extremely powerful. And once your environment stops fighting your goals, the next habit becomes much easier to apply. Habit number 6. They treat learning like leverage. Most people stop learning in any serious way far too early. They consume information, but they do not study with intention. They hear advice, but they do not turn it into skill. They stay busy, but they do not become more valuable. Millionaire habits are different. Wealthy people understand that learning is not just self-improvement. It is leverage. The more clearly you think, the more wisely you decide. The more you understand human behavior, value, risk, communication, timing, negotiation, and opportunity, the better your decisions become. And better decisions repeated over time create better outcomes. That is why learning matters so much. Not random learning, Directed learning, learning with application, learning that improves judgment, learning that helps you solve bigger problems, learning that makes your time more valuable. Most people want higher income but do not consistently increase the quality of the mind producing that income. That is a serious limitation, because income is often a reflection of value, judgment, and execution. And when you keep developing those things, you become harder to replace and more capable of building something real. That does not mean you need to know everything. It means you stop needing to keep sharpening the tools that shape your future. And that leads to the final habit. Habit number 7. They stay emotionally steady while everyone else reacts. This habit is massively underestimated. People often think wealth is mostly about numbers, but wealth is also about behavior under pressure. Can you stay patient when results are slow? Can you stay calm when other people panic? Can you stay disciplined when emotions tell you to escape? Can you keep making smart decisions when life becomes uncomfortable? That emotional steadiness matters more than many people realize, because people do not usually destroy progress in calm moments. They destroy progress in emotional moments. Moments of fear, moments of ego, moments of frustration, moments of boredom, moments of impatience. That is when people overspend, quit, change direction too fast, prove themselves to the wrong people, chase the wrong opportunities, or abandon systems that were actually working. Millionaires are not emotionally perfect, but many of them learn to pause before reacting. They learn not to let every feeling become a decision. And that is a major advantage, because when emotions are in control, consistency disappears. And when consistency disappears, compounding disappears with it. The people who quietly build wealth are often not the loudest, flashiest, or most dramatic. Very often, they are simply the most stable. They can continue. They can wait. They can hold their standard. They can think clearly. When other people are caught in emotional noise. And over time, that creates separation. Now, when you look at these 7 habits together, something important becomes clear. None of them are magic. None of them look extraordinary on one random afternoon. And that is exactly why most people miss them, because they are searching for intensity instead of consistency. They are searching for excitement instead of structure. They are searching for visible success instead of invisible discipline. But wealth usually grows from what people do repeatedly, not from what they do occasionally. That is why these habits matter. Thinking long-term, protecting attention, delaying gratification, building identity, designing environment, using learning as leverage, staying emotionally steady. Each one looks small by itself, but together they create a person who makes better decisions, wastes less energy, builds more momentum, and becomes far more capable of creating lasting wealth. And that is the real difference. Not luck, not appearance, not empty motivation, habits, repeated long enough to change what your life becomes. So if this video gave you a new way to think about success, do not just watch it and move on. Pick one of these habits and start building it deliberately. Because your future rarely changes in one dramatic moment. It changes in the daily behaviors you repeat when nobody is celebrating you yet. And if you want more videos like this on wealth, discipline, mindset, and the habits that quietly change everything, subscribe and stay with the channel. Because sometimes the biggest transformation in your life starts with one habit that most people were too distracted to take seriously.